Welcome back to Boo You Gore, the podcast where we explore the darker stories from history and true crime, uncovering the events that shocked communities and changed lives forever. I'm Annetta.
And I'm Jade, and today we're covering a tragedy that many people have never heard of, despite it once being the deadliest mass shooting in American history. Today we are doing the story of the San Ysidro McDonald's Massacre.
I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah, I think it's something I touch on a lot in this as well, is just how unheard of it is, which is insane because it's mental.
How bad it is.
Absolutely mental. And it was a massive learning curve for police because prior to this, there wasn't mass shootings in America, not to this level. And they didn't know how to respond to it. So people criticize a lot of what the police actually did when dealing with it, but they just didn't know to do.
They've never had to deal with this before.
So what they do now when it comes to mass shootings, a lot of that was actually learned off of this case. So it's a very, very interesting one.
A little teachable moment for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. We're 2 minutes in and I ripped out an absolutely.
Nice.
We're back.
We just dusted off the cobwebs.
So before we begin, I want to acknowledge the victims and the survivors of the attack. 21 people lost their lives this day and 19 others were wounded. Entire families were forever changed by what happened on July 18th, 1984.
Coming up close to that.
Yeah, when I was writing it, because I think I originally wrote this probably about a month ago, and then I was like, we should leave it and record it on that day. And then I was like, no, because we do that so often accidentally. I like it better when we do it accidentally.
Yeah, when it's not on purpose.
As you already know, I was so annoyed because I've had this written for so long to do this episode. And then someone else recorded this episode and released it a couple of weeks ago. So we gave it an extra week before we recorded just to make sure our episodes didn't come out on the same week.
But that's also funny and coincidental.
Yeah, complete fluke considering how long I actually had this one sitting
and how unknown it is.
Yeah.
That it's
It's something I would have thought they would have done a very long time ago. But
I'm guessing because there's a lot of children involved.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like they generally didn't touch on cases that until recently.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true.
Maybe they're just expanding their horizons and
running out of cases.
Maybe.
So I'm going to discuss the man responsible. While this episode isn't about celebrating or glorifying him, it's about understanding the events, remembering the victims, and examining how one horrific afternoon changed the way that law enforcement responds to mass shootings forever. San Ysidro is located on the southern edge of California, directly beside the Mexican border. It was and still is a vibrant community with deep family ties and a strong cultural identity. So it's not a big American town, but it's not a little American town. It's sort of like I've never been to America, so I don't know what to compare it to, but it's got everything you need, but it's not a big city. So in 1984, it was a predominantly Hispanic working class community. People would cross the border daily to visit family members, attend school, work jobs, and maintain connections on both sides. It was really common at the time to sort of live there, work in Mexico, and vice versa. So it was no different to them literally changing suburbs. For many locals, the McDonald's on the San Ysidro Boulevard wasn't just a fast food restaurant. It was a community gathering place. Children would celebrate birthdays there, teenagers worked their first jobs there, families would stop in after school for a snack, drop in after sports game and after shopping trips, and it was all very familiar, safe and ordinary. And that's the part that makes this tragedy so devastating. Think for a second how many times you've stopped into a Macca's, rewarded the kids with a Happy Meal and a play on the equipment. You think nothing of it. You pop in, you order, pay, eat, play, and go home. It's all pretty routine. And I know you haven't got kids, but I'm sure as a kid, there was times where, if you behave, we'll go to Macca's. And you just pop in and you have your play and you just go about your day and it's just a normal, everyday day.
That's not something that you would think you have to be worried about.
Yeah. It's not a life-threatening or life-endangering task.
Yeah.
It's just an everyday thing. However, on July 18th, 1984, families that walked into the store to do just that had no idea what was going to happen with the rest of the day. They walked into that restaurant not expecting their life to change forever, and they absolutely did not expect their lives to end. Enter 41-year-old James Oliver Huberty. Huberty was born in Ohio in October 1942 to a hard-working father and a stay-at-home mother. They're a devoutly religious family, raising James and his sister in and around the local Methodist church. James had a rough start to life. When only 3 years old, he contracted polio, leading him to spending many years of his life in leg braces. Despite the braces, James would be left with a lifelong limp, and in 1950, when James was just 8, his father decided that the family needed a change and brought them a farm. James's mother would have none of it, and instead of joining her family on the land, she escaped them and became a Pentecostal missionary.
Jesus.
And you think, like, at that time too, like, a single dad, that's crazy. That wasn't a common thing.
It's usually the other way around.
Yeah. And he still did, he supplied for his kids. And I would assume the daughter would have done a lot of the raising because it just would have been what it would have been because dad would have had to work. But how horrific for him to lose his mum at that age. The devastated little James, who was teased relentlessly at school for both his limp and being motherless, was so
What?
Yeah. How, like, kids are shit.
Yeah.
They're both things that are completely beyond his control.
Yeah.
And they're things that he should have been nurtured for, not teased about. Oh, you poor thing, you got really sick when you were a baby and now you're scarred for the rest of your life. And how sad that your mum left you. Not, you got a mum, loser, lumpy legs. Like,
yeah, what the...
like, poor little guy. It's like you feel so sorry for the kid.
Mm.
And yeah. Due to the relentless bullying, James withdrew and became very inverted. He discovered a love for shooting and target practice, and life on the farm allowed him all the time and space that he needed to hone these skills. James became somewhat of a gunsmith, teaching himself how to modify his guns. Which, you look at that in 2026 and you're like, that's such a red flag. But in the 1950s, on a farm, a kid that loved shooting and target practice was just so normal.
It was very normal. That is insane how times have changed.
Yeah. Like now, if someone was like, oh yeah, my 8-year-old's out the back shooting, everyone would be like, oh my God, call DCP.
Or just literally something as little as like 80s, 90s even.
Yeah.
Kids would just roam the streets until the lights started coming on.
That's it.
But nowadays, you know where your kid is all the time.
Yeah, because they're sitting on the couch with a controller in their hands.
Yeah, literally.
So James was an average student, graduating in the middle of his class. Despite all the bullying he faced at school, he was still a decent student. So he attended university to study sociology before switching to mortuary science, where he graduated with honours and gained his funeral director's license in 1964. He then went on to gain his embalming qualifications, which made him a valuable and highly educated employee. Unfortunately, though, James's shyness would let him down in this role, and his inability to engage with clientele would ultimately see this career cut short. After marrying his wife in 1965, James went on to have a bunch of different jobs, including work as a welder and a security guard. In the 70s, James and his wife were thriving. They purchased a beautiful 3-bedroom home, which would ultimately go on to be destroyed by a fire and required demolishing. The newlyweds brought a new home and then built a 6-apartment building on the lot where their first home stood. So in the early 70s, they were doing pretty good. So he had a job that was paying him really well, and they had income from 6 apartments. They were doing good. In 1972 and 1974, they would welcome their 2 daughters into their family. Life for the Hubertys was grand. However, behind closed doors, James was aggressive and had been arrested for domestic violence against both his wife and his daughters. He would rant relentlessly about the apocalypse, and he would doomsday prep. He constantly fought with, spell check let me down here. I wrote he constantly fought with hoes. But it's meant to say he constantly fought with his neighbours, which again resulted in his arrest. In the early 1980s, however, his life appeared to be unravelling. Financial difficulties resulted from him losing his job. He gained new employment and was let go merely 5 weeks later when the company dissolved. His employment became unstable and his frustrations with society seemed to grow. In 1983, the family sold their apartment block just to get by, and shortly after this, James had a severe car accident with one of his daughters in the car. He sustained a head injury and severe neck injury, resulting in unmanageable pain and shocks and tremors in his arms. The dark side of James grew dramatically after this incident.
I was going to say head damage.
Yep. So he's got everything setting him up to be what he became.
Yeah.
Like everything you hear about with mass killers and serial killers, they've all got the head injury. They've got bad home life. Like they have abandoned trauma. Parent. Yeah. They have, all of these things. So in late 1983, the family then sold their own home. However, they received merely 25% of what remained on their mortgage. So even though they'd sold their apartment block and their home, they were still in financial dire straits.
How?
Crazy. How crazy.
That's insane. Because the amount you would be getting from each apartment,
You would think that should have put them in a good position.
You could literally, neither of one needed to work.
Yeah.
That was your income.
That's it. You would think so. Like, you imagine today, if you sold a freshly built, so they would have been 10 years old when they sold. If you sold a 10-year-old building with 6 apartments in it now, depending on where it is, you could be walking away with $6 million. Like, you would be very comfortable. So I don't know if there was a housing market crash or something at the time. There was obviously something, and
and maybe the apartments were vacant, so they weren't getting the, but essentially it was costing them money as opposed to making money.
Because you would think selling 2 properties, they should be pretty bloody comfortable.
At least on top or semi on top. Not still quite financially in debt.
That's it. But when they moved, so they ended up packing up when they sold the house, they packed up and they moved to Mexico, and all they could afford to take with them at the time was what they could fit in their car. So James prioritised his rifles and then whatever else fit. But as long as he had his guns, that was the main thing.
Which they would take up a fair bit of room.
Yeah, because he had an extensive collection. So once they got to Mexico, he got work as a welder again, and that helped him raise the money to pay to get what little belongings they still had in Ohio sent over to Mexico. That then went to shit very quickly, and he was unemployed again. He became increasingly angry, being the only Anglo-American family living in their apartment block. So on top of all the other issues that our lovely Mr. Huberty has, we can now add racism to his repertoire of amazing attributes. So friends and family would describe James as increasingly paranoid, and he believed that people were against him. He was a perpetual victim and felt cheated by life. He became increasingly angry at the world around him, but something is really important to remember here. Millions of people experience unemployment, stress, financial hardship, and mental health struggles without harming anyone. Those factors alone do not explain what happened. There was an anger deep in James that he couldn't heal, and the responsibility for the massacre rests solely with the person who chose to commit it. In the days leading up to the attack, Huberty's situation continued deteriorating. He had recently lost his security guard job, money was tight, the future looked uncertain. James was plagued with thoughts both suicidal and homicidal, and to his credit, he made a call to a mental health support line just days before the incident. In those days, you'd call the line and an operator would take your call and they would grade it by urgency. So if it was, you had severe threat of hurting yourself, it was classed as a crisis. You're in crisis. The person who took the call took James's name down wrong and had him registered as James Shuberty instead of Huberty, and marked him down as not being in crisis. So they couldn't return the call because they didn't have his proper name. And because he wasn't marked as being in crisis, they didn't make any effort to actually try
and sort of follow it up.
Because you would think Huberty, it would be easy to just make the call and say, hey, did you make a call a couple of days ago? But
nothing.
No, none of that happened. So, however, due to a communication issue, the appointment was never properly arranged and the operator had written down James's name incorrectly, so the call was never returned. Whether it would have changed anything is impossible to know. What we do know, however, is that Huberty's behaviour became increasingly concerning after the call was never returned. He reached out for help, but he didn't matter enough to receive the help he asked for. His anger intensified, his paranoia deepened, and on July 18th, 1984, everything came to a catastrophic end. That morning began like countless others. Huberty spent time with his wife and daughters, and the family visited San Diego Zoo. They ate lunch, and at some point during the day, James randomly stated to his wife, society had its chance.
Oh my God, sorry to interrupt. I have heard of this case.
Yeah.
And they made, it was a big deal about the whole mental health system because they made it sound like when he called up, he was so calm.
Yeah.
And presented the facts or presented I don't know, the way that he spoke was very factual
matter of fact,
and matter of fact, that they were like, nah, he's too calm. He's not.
Yeah, and he had literally said to them, I'm going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill people, or I'm going to kill myself, or both.
Yeah. The zoo. Yeah. As soon as you started saying they went to zoo, I'm like, wait a minute. This.
And I think that's why it wasn't marked as a crisis, because he didn't come across as erratic and out of control. He was very calm.
Which, that's scarier.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, we know that now, but at the time in 1984, they would have just gone, he must just be attention seeking because he's really calm. If he was desperate, he'd be screaming. No, he was desperate that he was calm about it. He made peace with what he was going to do.
It's like the calm before the storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
People aren't necessarily, ripping their hair out when they're insane.
Exactly.
Like, it could be a calm insane.
Yep. And that's even scarier.
Yeah.
Because where every time I've heard that part, like, my heart just breaks, because I think if someone had just made the call back, it could have, we'll never know. He could have done it still, he could have done worse. But
whether that was what was the cherry on top of what he was already going through.
That's it.
Or if someone called him back and then something else would have set him off anyway.
Yep. And there wasn't a huge understanding of mental health in 1984.
There isn't one even now.
Yeah, well, exactly. And, if you're a man that's got a job and a family and everything else, and you're saying, hey, my mental health's bad.
They'll be like,
no,
why?
It's not.
Like, what do you got to be upset about?
That's it. Yep. So it wouldn't have been taken as seriously as what it needed to be. But that's not saying they did anything wrong. They worked with what they knew at the time.
Yeah.
So he randomly stated to his wife, society had its chance, with no explanation to this statement. Hindsight, it's abundantly clear how ominous this statement was. If you've got someone who's walking around, we all know that person who every time they're mildly inconvenienced says, I'm going to fucking kill myself. And some people are saying it as a precursor to something that they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And some people just say shitty things out of frustration. And I think James was someone who said shitty things out of frustration all the time. So when he said it again, his wife was just like,
It was like the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
You're going to say so many times to a point that everyone's like, oh, it's just another day of
that's it.
James ruining our beautiful zoo trip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, society had its chance. Okay, James.
Yeah.
Like, you can almost picture how she would have felt it.
Which it's, like you said, it's so obvious now. But at the time, it wouldn't have been.
Which is kind of sad, because he was screaming for help. Like, he made the call. He was making out to his wife. He'd said to his wife multiple times, I don't think I'm right in the head.
And you know what? That in itself is a big step for a man.
Yeah.
Especially in those times. Yep. To admit they don't feel right in the head.
Like, he knew that there was something wrong, and he did try. He at least tried. But unfortunately, he was just born in the wrong era, and no one was going to see what he needed at the time. So, but imagine how his wife felt after all of this. Those words would have just come like screaming back into her head.
I don't know if this is going to ruin anything, but I heard that he said something before he left.
Yeah.
And did it, and she didn't call the police until she'd seen something on TV to be like, hey, that's Jay.
Yep. So the family returned home. They had a beautiful time together that afternoon, and it actually seemed to James's wife like a positive step forward. They'd had a nice family day out together. He was talking. So what she thought was a positive step forward was actually him just trying to leave his kids with a good memory of him.
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's kind of fucked up.
Right? So that afternoon, while James's wife attempted to nap, James entered their shared room, loaded up with guns and an excessive amount of ammo. I want to kiss you goodbye, he said to his wife. He kissed her, and she asked where he was going because she wanted to start dinner soon. He replied, I'm going hunting. I'm hunting humans. He walked past his daughter on the way out and said, goodbye, I won't be back. So he was so... Again, not making excuses for him, but he was so at the end of his tether.
And, like, very honest about everything, which is very, I don't know.
And, like, not blaming his wife in any way, shape or form, but if someone is standing in front of you with guns saying, I'm going hunting for humans, after they've just spent the last 20 years telling you how much they hate society and people, if you can't safely convince them to put those guns down and not leave the house, you need to call the police.
I feel like it's hard to put blame, but...
Yeah, and that, like I said before, she would have heard this a million fucking times and honestly probably just fell on deaf ears to her. But if he's standing in the doorway saying, I want to kiss you goodbye, I'm going to go hunt humans, and he has hundreds of rounds packed.
Yes, he says morbid shit all the time.
Yeah.
But has he ever come to you saying, goodbye, I'm going human hunting?
That's it.
That's different for him. That's not part of his everyday routine.
That's it. And I didn't find anything that said that he'd done anything like this before. So it was obvious that the behaviour today was different. But at the same time, she may have just been so exhausted with his depression and sadness that she was like, what the fuck ever, James?
Yeah.
Not realising that it was real.
The final straw. Or like in so much denial about it. Especially because they'd had such a good day as well.
That's
there was hope for that day, and then...
Yeah. She could have even thought he was just being funny.
Him just being him.
That's it. Oh, I'm going to go shoot people.
And maybe he was just like, did he go hunting for animals type thing?
Exactly.
Did he use his guns for things like that?
That's
so him
it.
saying he's
Could
going
have
hunting
just been like
for humans as a joke.
Yeah, that's it.
It
could have just been like a twisted joke. Like, you know, one day I was rearranging the kitchen and I had the toaster under my arm, and Greg says to me, what are you doing with the toaster? And I was like, I'm going to go have a bath. Like, I'm clearly not actually about to go kill myself.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing.
Like that sort of morbid joke. Yeah.
I'm off for a bath. I come home one day stressed, and I was like, no. I just walked into the kitchen, grabbed the toaster, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, bathing. Just walked down the hallway with the toaster. He didn't even get off the couch. He knows I'm not doing anything. But it's just, you know, dramatic, morbid joking I guess. Yeah.
Which, that could be the type of relationship they had. He was such a morbid person saying these things that, if he did go hunting for animals, maybe that's why he had all these weapons. And so she was used to that.
And she might have been completely unaware. What he was about to do, even though he literally told her. So those words would go on to become infamous after the massacre, with Mrs. Huberty receiving ridicule for not acting on her husband's statement. This wasn't new behaviour from James. His hatred of humans had been obvious for years. His threats had always been empty. However, on this day, before leaving the house, Huberty armed himself with multiple firearms, including a shotgun, a pistol, and a Uzi-style semi-automatic carbine.
Holy shit!
He also carried hundreds of rounds of ammunition. This wasn't spontaneous, it wasn't impulsive, he came prepared. He knew exactly what he intended to do. This is the definition of premeditated.
Oh yeah, 100%.
At approximately 3:56 in the afternoon, Huberty arrived at the McDonald's in San Ysidro. The restaurant was busy, families were eating meals, children were playing, employees were working behind the counter, people were living completely ordinary lives. Then suddenly everything changed. Huberty entered the restaurant, slamming the door open, placing down a radio, turning it to a pop music station, and lifting his rifle, pointing it at the manager. After bursting in the door and aiming the gun at the restaurant manager, a staff member yelled, "He's going to shoot you." The restaurant went dead silent. The gun jammed, and the manager advanced towards James. However, he unjammed the gun, pulled the trigger, and he had found victim number 1.
That actually gave me chills.
Yep.
Imagine that in a Macca's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I joke to my husband all the time. We see something happen on the news or whatever, and I'm always like, this is why we never leave the house. This is why we never go anywhere. Because you can't even literally go to the shops because someone could do something stupid. And nowadays, even in Australia, people are shooting or having knife attacks, getting stabbed going up the escalator. Just so many cooked things are happening that...
And how quickly, too. We started this podcast a year and a half ago, and we were laughing about, like, we were laughing because we were twisted, but we were laughing about, get your shit together, America.
Yeah,
you should
like
be able to go to
in Australia.
Yeah, you should be able to go to the shopping centre without getting shot.
Me.
You should be able to go to the servo without getting stabbed. Like
you should be buying your kids a bulletproof backpack,
right? And Australia just went, bet.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Fucking hell.
Sorry,
you're completely fine. So confusion erupted instantly. People screamed, parents grabbed their children, customers dove beneath the tables, employees ran for cover, they hid under benches, in freezers. Some initially thought the sounds were fireworks, but others couldn't even comprehend what they were witnessing, standing completely stunned. But the reality became very clear very quickly. A mass shooting was underway. What followed was 77 minutes of terror.
Yes.
Yeah.
And apparently the documentary, at exactly 77 minutes, it stops and black screen and writing says, this is the length that you've been watching this documentary so far, is the amount of time he was shooting.
And that's a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
And to think that in that time, he only killed 21 people is insane. Because he had hundreds of rounds. But the damage he could have done in that time, like 21 is still disgusting.
Like, for God's sake. Yeah.
Like 21, he killed 21 and injured 19. So he basically shot 40 people. But that could have been so much worse in that amount of time.
Yeah. Like how wasn't everyone dead kind of thing? That's how insane I was imagining it.
And that McDonald's was sort of in a shopping centre. And at one point, he was actually shooting out of the window at people running to the post office and things like that. So the damage that he could have actually done, insane.
Because even that number, that's a lot of people in a McDonald's.
Apparently, every now and again, he would stop and turn the music up and dance to a pop song and laugh and smile and giggle. And it just makes me think of Apex.
Yeah.
Like turning the music up and just dancing. And then he'd stop and he'd flick through the radio stations to find a song that he liked.
That kind of breaks my heart. Imagine being the people that are like still in there while he's doing those dance moves.
Imagine how triggering hearing those songs would be.
Oh, fuck.
You could be driving along in the car and a song would come on and your whole brain would melt.
Wow. I would legit not want to listen to the radio at all.
Yep, that would be ridiculous. Like that
kind of makes me want to cry.
Right?
Wow.
And the more I was reading about this and like, because one of the things I was reading about went a lot into PTSD and the victims, and a lot of the people that were there, not a lot, but there was a decent number of people that were there who didn't die on the day that ended up taking their own lives.
Oh, fuck.
Because of PTSD, and they ended up with drug addictions and things like that because they couldn't go to the shops.
Oh, yeah.
They
couldn't. Fucking McDonald's.
Right.
Like, I would become whatever the word... Hypochondriac?
Agoraphobic. Is that it?
So
no.
That's where, like, you don't leave the house.
Yeah, agoraphobic. Yeah, where you don't leave the house.
I was way off.
But you would, because you wouldn't... Like, if you can't go to a Macca's, like, you would go into the shopping centre and someone would drop something and you would freak the fuck out. They'd have, like, war-level PTSD.
100%. Like, that's traumatic as fuck.
Yep, that's...
I'm, like, getting hella... Like, obviously my body's still...
But, like, you know, and then how do you go through something like that and not become a drug addict?
Yeah.
And
like,
not
you
become...
would just want to disassociate from your whole life.
And that's one of the things that always gets me with cases like this. Like, spoiler alert, he's dead. But when these cases go to court, they would charge for the people he shot. They would charge for the people that he killed. Mm-hmm. What about the people that didn't cop a bullet but sat there and held a hole in their best friend's chest while they fucking died?
Yeah.
That person's life's over too. What about the parents that are sitting outside in the car park waiting to find out if their kids are coming out of that building? Like, there is so much more damage than just the people that are injured on that day.
That were just physically shot, yeah.
That's it. What about the cops that had to sit in the car park being told, you can't do anything yet, we don't know what to do? Because
something like this has never happened before.
That's it. They've taken an oath
man dancing to pop music in there.
That's it. And they've taken an oath to save people, and they've just got to sit there and listen to these gunshots and not do anything about it.
And,
like, the damage this would have done to that whole community is just insane. Like you
77 minutes is a excruciatingly long time.
Yeah,
that's like the length of a whole movie.
And you imagine just sitting... I was talking to my son about this before, and I said, just sit. I'm like, an hour and 17 minutes. Put your phone down. Don't have the telly on. Just sit there for that amount of time and see how agonising it is to just sit there. Now imagine someone walking around you with a semi-automatic rifle.
Yeah.
And all you can hear is babies crying and chip fryers beeping because no one can turn them off because they're hiding in fucking freezers. Yeah. And, like, just... insane.
So many like triggers. That's why I like it'd be understandable to become a drug addict, because it was such a normal everyday thing that they were doing already.
Yep.
That is now a trigger point.
Every time they'd hear a beep, you'd hear the beep of the fryers.
Yeah.
There was, I don't know if smoke alarms were a thing in 84, but there were probably smoke alarms going off, because if there was a basket of chips in that fryer, that's sitting in there for 77 minutes. Like,
I'm surprised the place didn't burnt out, to be honest.
Right.
But
and just all the smell of blood, the crying babies, the tomato sauce. The smell of tomato sauce would probably trigger
in
you.
the McDonald's, yeah.
Someone says, oh, do you want a pickle? Fuck, your brain had shut down. Like,
You just instantly think of Macca's.
things that would trigger you is just insane. And a TV commercial. Oh, come and bring the family to Macca's. No, don't. Like...
But legitimately, even just the music, like you said, him flicking through the stations.
Yeah, he's sitting there, you think, like, 84. So it could have been, you're lying under a table, holding your kids, trying to keep them quiet. We've got to play dead. Shut up. And
there's like Michael Jackson Beat It playing or something.
Yeah.
That's like
That's it. A song that you're never, ever going to be able to escape.
Mm-hmm.
And some weirdo's dancing to it with a fucking Uzi in his hands.
Yeah.
Like...
Wow. It legitimately sounds like something from a movie.
Yeah. Horrific. And this case needs to be more known. Like, these people need more, like... And, you know, we run the list, and I'll do it at you know, there's a point in here where I'll do it, or I'll go through and I'll mention all the victims. Even then, you're only mentioning the people that didn't make it out.
Like you said, there's so many people that are affected
That's
by it.
Yeah. There's so many more people that are affected. And the people that die... Their story ends there. We're 41 years later, and there would be people that have walked around with this memory in their head every day for 41 fucking years. And the world doesn't know about it. Like, we owe the respect to the people who are living with this as a memory to pay attention to what fucking happened.
To be able to, better the way we react to things. Or help. Be like, well, we did things this way this time. There's going to be a next time.
Yep.
It's obvious throughout history.
And they even say, like, when I was reading things and I was saying, you know, they used what they learned in this to deal with school shootings and stuff like that. What about the Sandy Hook shooting, where the cops did the same thing? They pulled the cars up and they just stood there. They stood around waiting. A mother got arrested because she walked through the fucking police barricade and went into that school and pulled her kid out of it. And they fucking arrested her.
So they had time to do that. But
you can arrest her, but there's someone walking around a primary school with a fucking shotgun. Yeah. Side quest. The confusion erupted instantly. People screamed. Parents grabbed their children. Employees dove beneath tables. Customers dove beneath tables. Employees ran for cover. They locked themselves in freezers. Some initially thought the sounds were fireworks, while others couldn't comprehend what they were witnessing. But the reality became clear very quickly. A mass shooting was underway, and what followed was 77 minutes of terror. For more than an hour, Huberty moved through the restaurant, firing at people he encountered. The attack was indiscriminate. Victims included employees, customers, children, teenagers, parents, and grandparents. Some were killed instantly, others were wounded and forced to lie still, hoping not to attract his attention. Survivors later described hearing constant gunfire echoing through the restaurant. The sounds seemed endless. Every corner of the building felt dangerous. There was nowhere that felt truly safe. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of this case is the number of children that were affected. Young children who had simply come to eat lunch with their families, teenagers working summer jobs, parents desperately trying to shield loved ones from gunfire. When people think about mass casualty events, it's easy to become overwhelmed by numbers, but every number represented a human life. A child with dreams, a parent with responsibilities, a teenager planning for a future, working hard to save for their first car. People who should have had decades ahead of them. Some survivors managed to find hiding places, storage rooms, utility areas, spaces beneath counters, anywhere that offered even a small chance of protection. Many later described the waiting as one of the worst parts. Sitting in silence, terrified to move, terrified to breathe too loudly. Minute after minute, begging your children to play dead. Wondering whether you'll survive.
That's insane. I didn't even think of that. Like, having to tell your children...
One of the stories I heard was the mother she'd been shot through the arm, I think, and she dived under the table and grabbed her two kids. They were 4 and 8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids were screaming, and she was reassuring them that the sound of the gunshots wasn't gunshots. It was the ice machine was broken and the ice was spitting ice out everywhere. And the kids were saying, it's glass, it's broken glass. No, honey, it's ice. The ice machine's just spitting ice out. We just got to lay really, really still.
So for 77 minutes, trying to tell your kids, like, don't scream because there's someone going to come shoot us.
Yep.
Wow.
When their whole reaction is going to be to scream, and you're like...
As a 4-year-old, like, how do you even, they wouldn't even comprehend what the hell's going on.
You can't control a toddler at the best of times, let alone when someone's walking around with a rifle. And you're like, you just need to be fucking quiet or we're going to die. But you're trying to not say to those kids, no, you just got to shush because the ice is going everywhere.
Wow.
That's parenting.
Mm.
Like, to come up with a lie so quickly to try and make those children think that they're not in the danger they're in.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
fucking crazy. Outside, emergency calls flooded dispatch centres. After receiving the first call, a police dispatcher accidentally sent officers to the wrong McDonald's, costing the police valuable minutes. As more calls came in and the correct details were relayed, police officers rushed to the scene. But it's important to remember that this was 1984. Modern active shooter response tactics did not yet exist. Today's officers are often trained to move quickly towards an active threat, and at that time, law enforcement responses frequently focused on containment and assessment. However, while this event was contained and being assessed, more people were dying. Officers arriving on the scene faced enormous uncertainty. No one knew how many shooters were in the building, as the tinted windows of the McDonald's allowed him to hide in there indiscriminately.
Where that kind of... I don't want to make excuses for him, but that, like, if you don't know how many shooters are in there...
That's it. Like,
is a big factor of why they didn't just go bursting in.
Exactly. Like, they could have gone, full SWAT team, bursted in there and just shot him.
Yeah.
But they didn't know if they go in there if there's 15 shooters in there.
And then they kill civilians by accident. Yeah.
Yep. So... And, it's a time where there was no, like, wireless CCTV that they could log into to have a look at anything.
Yeah.
Like,
or send in your little robot or whatever.
That's it. They were literally blind.
Yeah.
They couldn't see through the tinting on the windows.
Mm.
All they could see every now and again was the flashes of the gunshots when he would shoot. With an
Uzi, obviously, so many.
Yeah.
You can't.
That's it. And because he was moving around so much, from the outside, it would have looked like there were multiple shooters.
Mm.
So they didn't know where they were located. They didn't know how many victims they had inside. They didn't know if people had been shot or if he was just shooting at things. Was it a robbery gone wrong? Was it a mass shooting? They had no idea, and they had no way to contact them. It's not like people had mobile phones and they could be texting and saying, this is what's going on.
That's so true.
There was no communication between the inside of that building and the outside.
Yeah.
So none of the answers were immediately clear, but as the attack continued, officers established positions around the building. The situation remained chaotic, and witness reports varied. Some reported that there were multiple gunmen. Others stated they had no idea what was going on. They heard the gunshots and they ran. Meanwhile, families who knew their loved ones were in the restaurant had all gathered outside while the incident was active. Now, this shooter was shooting out of the window at times too and shooting at people in the car park. So while all these families are rocking up, understandably wanting to know what's going on with their family that's in the building, they're just becoming something else for the police to look after.
Making it harder, yeah.
That's it, because there would have been parents that wanted to storm in there and get their kids out of there, but the police are trying to keep them, no, you've got to stay back, you've got to stay safe. Well, while they're dealing with irate parents, they can't deal with that situation.
Yeah.
So it was just for lack of a better term, it was just a clusterfuck of events. So imagine standing behind police lines, hearing gunfire and not knowing whether your child, spouse, sibling or parent was still alive inside that building.
So then they're traumatized as well.
Yep. So as the minutes stretched on and Huberty continued firing, investigators would later state that James Huberty had fired hundreds of rounds during the attack. The destruction left behind was staggering. He shot people running from the building, walking towards the building, cowered under tables, playing dead, screaming children and adults. Because when this very first started, and no mobile phones, people didn't know, kids were rocking up to go into Macca's while he was inside shooting.
Yeah.
So people were still showing up to the premises, and as they were walking in the door, they were just getting shot.
That's wow.
One witness report said these 3 kids rocked up, 2 on a bike, 1 on a skateboard, and they just happy-go-lucky, like probably begged their parents for money to go to Macca's.
Get an ice cream or a cheeseburger.
Yep, that's it. And just go running in there like everything's all great and see you later.
Wow.
The destruction left behind was staggering. He shot people running from the building, walking towards the building, cowered under tables, playing dead, screaming children and adults. The staff desperately tried to escape, but the back of the restaurant had been locked due to employee issues in the past. So one thing I read said employees were sneaking food out the back, and another one said they were sneaking out the back to smoke. Mm-hmm. So the managers had made the decision to lock all the back of the building so no one could get out.
Isn't that like a fire risk and like a... Oh, Jesus.
Yep.
Again, the 80s.
Yep.
Wow.
So inside the restaurant, victims lay wounded and dying. Others had already lost their lives, and still the ordeal continued. Eventually, police sniper Charles Foster obtained a clear line of sight and was waiting the opportunity This was the opportunity officers had been waiting for. So he had been up on the roof of the post office across from the building for 17 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept saying, I've got the shot, I can take the shot, I can take the shot. And they were constantly told, no, 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 because they didn't know what was in there. At 5:16 p.m., he got told, if you can take the shot, take the shot.
Mm-hmm.
At 5:17 p.m., he fired one bullet and struck Huberty between the eyes.
Wow.
Killed him
What a shot.
instantly. The attack was over. So after 77 minutes, the nightmare finally ended. When authorities entered the restaurant, they encountered a scene that would remain etched into their memories forever. 21 innocent people had been murdered, 19 more had been wounded, and the victims ranged in age from young children to elderly adults. Entire families had been devastated, and the scale of the tragedy shocked the nation. At the time, it was the deadliest mass shooting committed by a lone gunman in American history, and to this day, it's the biggest mass shooting ever in California.
Holy fuck.
In the weeks and months that followed, the community of San Ysidro struggled to process what had happened. Funerals were held, families grieved, survivors attempted to rebuild their lives, but healing from an event like this is never simple. Many survivors experienced long-term psychological trauma, nightmares, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress. Some found it difficult to even come near a restaurant. Others avoided crowded public spaces. Many carried emotional wounds for decades. McDonald's ceased all advertising out of respect for their victims. Burger King followed in suit out of solidarity.
That's enough.
Do you know how much that kills me? Like, all the shooting and the everything, like, obviously it's all fucked. But in a world that's so driven by making money and so commercial and for them to go, nah, we're going to stop too. I got you too.
Thanks.
The shooting ended in 77 minutes. The effects, however, lasted a lifetime. The McDonald's itself never reopened, with the widow of the McDonald's founder donating $100,000 towards funeral expenses and burial costs. Eventually, the building was demolished. For many residents, it had become impossible to separate the location from the horror associated with it. Today, memorials honor the victims to ensure their lives are remembered. 21 pillars featuring the names of the victims. Elsa Herlinda Borboa Fierro, 19. Neva Denise Kane, 22. Michelle Deanne Carncross, 18. Maria Elena Colmenero Silva, 19. David Flores Delgado, 11. Gloria Lopez Gonzalez, 22. Omar Alonso Hernandez, 11. Blythe Reagan Hiera, 31. Mateo Herrera, 11. Paulina Aquino Lopez, 21. Jose Ruben Lozano Perez, 19. Margarita Padilla, 18. Claudia Perez, 9. Carlos Reyes Jr., 8 months. Jackie Lynn Wright Reyes, 18. Victor Maximilian Riviera, 25. Hugo Luis Velasquez Vasquez, 45. Ada Velasquez Victoria, 69. Lawrence Herman Verslewis, 62. Miguel Victoria Ulloa, 74. Aris Delcy Velvas Vargas, 31. The San Ysidro Massacre also changed law enforcement. Police agencies across the United States examined the response and asked difficult questions. Could things have been handled differently? Absolutely. Were existing tactics appropriate for active shooter situations? No. What lessons could be learned? Over time, incidents like San Ysidro contributed to major changes in training and response strategies. Many of the rapid intervention techniques we use today were developed in part because of tragedies like this one. The lessons came at a terrible cost, but they helped shape how future emergencies would be handled. What I find most striking about this case is how forgotten it's become. Many people immediately recognize names like Columbine, Sandy Hook, or the Las Vegas concert shootings, but San Ysidro is rarely discussed, and yet for years it represented one of the worst mass shootings in American history. Perhaps it's because it happened before the internet, before social media, but I can tell you right now the survivors haven't forgotten, and the community of San Ysidro certainly hasn't forgotten. So before we close today's episode, I want to return our focus to the victims and not the killer. 21 people who should have gone home that evening, people who were simply eating lunch, working a shift, spending time with family, or enjoying an ordinary day. Their lives mattered and their stories mattered, and they deserve to be remembered more than the way they died. One other thing I want to touch on before I end the episode. I found it at the last minute, so I haven't put it in the episode. However, talking about his wife and how she could have, over time, turned a blind eye to the things he said and did because she would have heard it all the time. After the shooting happened, where her husband told her he was about to go shoot people, and he then left and killed 21 people, including an 8-month-old child, and shot 19 others, she filed a lawsuit against McDonald's, claiming that the amount of chicken nuggets that he ate messed with his brain and caused him to commit the massacre.
Yes, as soon as you said that, I remembered seeing that. And that kind of makes you not hate her, but it kind of makes you think back to that last moment they spoke and be like, well, you should have fucking known. You should have known.
Yep. And there was a big fundraising event that McDonald's did to go towards the families, and somehow she ended up with $1.4 million of the fundraising money.
How?
I have no idea, and I'm so angry about it.
But like, was that to do with the lawsuit? Like she got money from that, or?
I didn't see what ended up coming of the lawsuit. I think it got thrown out. But yeah, she ended up with 1.4 mil of the fundraising money, which, okay, her family was dramatically affected as well. Like, they had to move. The girls had to change their names so that no one knew they were his kids and everything else. Absolutely, that would have been horrific. But for her to have the audacity to try and sue McDonald's to say their chicken nuggets caused him to shoot hundreds of rounds of bullets is fucking ludicrous.
Yeah, I would have looked at that and been like, whatever he was on, you seem to be on as well. Like, whatever train he was on,
yeah,
you've got something in your head as well. Obviously, that's
where
good.
do you get the audacity?
Yeah.
And that was just insane to me.
I think I was about to say that nugget piece of information. That little piece of information, I think, makes you look at the story and look at her differently.
Yeah. Because it's so easy to go, oh, she should have done something. But then it's also so easy to go, well, if that was her every single day, and she would have been desensitized to it. But then to go to the audacity of, hey, you know what, McDonald's, I'm going to sue you because you did this.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. Like, he absolutely had traumas that resulted in a brain injury.
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with Macca's. And for her to do that, have the audacity to do that, makes you... Oh, I had the words in my head. Like, she has no remorse. I know she didn't actually do the shooting, but it's like she has no remorse and no guilt over not knowing sooner. Yeah. So then you look at it and you're like, well, then you knew, kind of thing.
That's it. Like, she just saw it as a money grab. Like, well, they made him do this, so now I need money. Like, I get that you need money and you've got a family to support. I understand all of that. But you still have your family.
Yeah.
There was, the 18-year-old girl who had an 8-month-old child who both died.
Yeah, they had their whole lives ahead of them.
That's it. There was a pregnant woman that was killed. There was a man who lost, I think, his wife and his son. So
it was
that's his whole entire family gone. Yes, okay, you lost your husband, but that whole thing was to result in suicide by cop. You didn't have to take 21 people out with you. That is so cowardly what he did. He was snapped. He was fucked. Like, it wasn't a conscious decision, I don't think. I absolutely believe he was mentally impaired. But fuck.
Because when you think of how he was saying, how he was so angry at society, and you think he'd target government places or things like that, not Macca's with children.
Poor little Luigi.
What are they doing to society?
That's it. How...
They're not even old enough to contribute to society.
That's it. Like, I don't think his actions were justified by his rants. Not at all. Crazy.
Fuck. This is I was gonna say a good one. This one got me. This one made me feel. Either I was still very emotional.
It was, even when I was writing the part about the Burger King cancelling all of their advertising as well. I was like, that is so fucking sweet. And then when I read it out loud, I was like, oh my God, it's going to make me cry.
God, you,
what the
they're not
hell?
make me
Like, that's just...
shit.
Yeah, and to think like back then in 1984, for Macca's to donate $100,000 for the burials and stuff, like that was a massive amount of money.
Back then,
which,
yeah.
end of the day, like they could have done nothing because it wasn't
it wasn't their fault. It just happened to be the location. That
exactly.
It was at,
like I don't think any of it was specifically targeted at McDonald's.
Yeah, it wasn't like the employees had pissed him off or anything.
That's it. Yeah, it was just a location where he knew there was plenty of people. He may have just been driving down the road and gone, oh yeah, that looks busy, and pulled in there. Like no one knows why he actually chose that location. So I don't feel like McDonald's had any responsibility over what happened at all.
So for them to do something was pretty nice.
That's it. But I mean, what's $100,000 for the person that owns Macca's, really? But yeah,
shit.
I feel like that case definitely needs more attention.
I think I'm going to watch whatever that doco is.
Yeah, that was brilliant, that documentary.
Is it?
I watched a couple of other ones on YouTube and stuff as well, just to
get a bit more
info on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks.
I've forgotten how to do anything.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us again and for putting up with our little impromptu hiatus.
Yeah,
life just lifed.
MIA for a bit.
Life just left for both of us, and the stars didn't align, and we didn't get here, but we're here now.
Yes, so, had a little break.
Yeah,
yeah. Hit us up on Insta,
TikTok, all the things. We're there. We pay attention to what you write.
Boo You Gore podcast on everything.
Yep.
Hit the little bells, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.